Good evening. You are watching the Cheese Room podcast. I'm the caller. Last night, I watched Tottenham destroy Everton at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It was an absolute pleasure, I can tell you. Just like I'm going to be destroying this gin and tonic throughout the show. I'm so happy. And, of course, that will be the main topic of conversation this evening. Joining me tonight, a man so excited that we beat Everton. Not only is he doing this show tonight, he did the pod last night with Brendan and Seb, which, by the way, if you haven't already downloaded, take a look at it. It's on Spotify and all good podcast providers. All the way from Vienna, it's the Harlow Globetrotter. How are you, HG?
I'm good. Evening all. It's always a good week when Spurs win, and we haven't got a midweek game to mess up this week, so should be a good chance to talk all things Spurs.
I've proper messed up because I got these rather artisan garnishes for my drink. And one of them is grapefruit, like dried grapefruit, which hydrates when you add the drink to it.
That does it.
Lovely.
Okay, yeah.
But it's got red peppercorns stuck all over it. And now I'm just like pulling out bits of peppercorn because it is. Anyway, that's first world problems. Secondly, a lady we all have to thank. So we thank you for not going yesterday, Shan, because Spurs won. How are you? I can see you've got a few boxes going on. You moving a house?
Yeah, which is why I wasn't at the game. We're trying to save some money now. Hopefully the move is going to be soon because my office is turned into some sort of kitchen storage room. So, yeah, all fun and games.
And what are we drinking tonight?
Peach Bellini gin.
Very good. I approve that drink.
It certainly looks like she's just gone for the box of wine on the floor. Like, what is it? Down here. Yeah.
I have got. You joke that from when we were in our first house, we had a cupboard full of alcohol, and we've still got a box of alcohol ready for our new house.
Right.
I've got about 12 bottles of Prosecco. So
it's a bit like Steve Diver, the legend that is Steve Diver.
A bit like Steve Diver, but the Povey version.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a alcohol room in his house. Here he is after sampling some of that alcohol room, and we can exclusively reveal how Steve watched the game. Now, is that in Las Vegas, of course, but that's the Trump Hotel in the background. I stayed there. It's lovely. I've got to say, that is a long way from the telly, so I don't quite understand how he knew what was going on, but...
Binoculars.
There you go.
Well, maybe the head commentator's telling him.
Oh, in one of those moods tonight. Oh, yeah, HG. Touche. Okay. We can do that. And finally, our final guest is a young man who served a coffee to an Oscar winner at the weekend. It's our resident student, James. Let's have a guess. Let's have a competition in the comments. So if you're watching, you can guess who the Oscar winner was that James served up a coffee to. And if anyone gets it right, we'll send you a Cheese Room T-shirt or something.
I think as a clue, James should say what the drink was. What
okay,
kind of... Go on.
I'll tell you the drink. It was a soy Americano. That's what the coffee was. I made the coffee and handed it to her. So.
Bearing in mind that half of Hollywood is vegan and all the rest of it, that really doesn't narrow it down, does it? Lots of virtue signalling there. Nothing against vegans, but I eat meat.
All right.
I'm not laying into the vegan alliance. It's up to you.
Wait. Are you saying that you kill animals, caller, for your own pleasure?
Not personally. I'm not Steve Diver. I don't go out shooting on a Sunday. Where's the hunt? So we're going to look back at that game, and we're going to obviously talk all things Spurs here this evening. So keep your comments coming in. Thanks for watching. First of all, 40 people already. Please do smash the like button as soon as you come into the room. That really helps us. I don't really need to respond to that, do I? The joke's wearing a little bit thin now.
No, it's never going to die, my friend.
Not in your head, but in mine. I've moved on.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't matter what you've done.
I'm sorry.
Oh my!
There's nothing wrong with leaving a game early. I stand by it.
Yeah, if Spurs win when you do, brilliant. Shan can't go to games because we lose when she does. We score goals when Owen's not there, away from home. Brilliant.
Yeah.
The two of you were born for YouTube.
This is a fact, right? Last night, the queue for the bar was so long. I only wanted a hot chocolate. The queue for the bar was so long at half time. I got my hot chocolate, and as I was coming back into the stadium arena, Reggie had just put the ball in the net. I nearly missed. I got the celebration. But I couldn't really do one. It was half-assed because I had a fucking scalding hot chocolate in my hand. So there you go, Salavi. I will keep going for toilet breaks and pints while I'm at the football. That will be, I think, probably good form. Let's kick off quite literally with the starting lineup. So there it is. Shan, any surprises in that for you?
No. Sorry. Willow says no.
Willow says no.
Willow says no.
Well, you're happy with that starting 11?
Yeah, I think that's our best 11 at the minute. Sessegnon and Region, sort of the same. Like, I'm happy with either of those two, but yeah, I think at the minute that's our best 11.
Yeah. And
we really need Hotspur and Bentancur to stay fit as long as Skip's out, because we just don't want to see Winks.
Well, that was going to be my question, really. So, I mean, a couple of things on that. That is our best 11. HG, do you agree with that, firstly? I mean, the notable absentees, I suppose you would say that Reggie at left back for Sessegnon would potentially be a talking point, would it not? And Hotspur and Skip would be close, but other than that, I agree. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. Like maybe at home against a team like Everton that are desperate, then going with Sessegnon might be a better option because he is, I think, better going forward than Region. But yeah, it's much of a muchness, as Shan said. Bentancur is better than Winks. Skip is better than Winks. I think that as far as Antonio Conte is concerned, Hojbjerg and Bentancur are his first choice. Even if Skip was fit, I think Skip would be on the bench. So that is very close to our best 11, certainly as far as Conte is concerned, I think, right now.
And James, obviously, Doherty, we'll talk about him because he did have a very good game. But is he now our first choice right back, do you feel?
Well, he's not playing at right back. Yeah, he's playing a right wing back. He is our first choice right wing back. Obviously, Conte doesn't play a back four. I think if we were playing a back four, Royal would be ahead of him. But, as we're playing a system with wing backs, Doherty is much better at that position than Royal is. Royal isn't any good going forward. Yeah. So, yeah, I think he is our first choice.
Okay, that's good. And then, obviously, quite a slow start. Shan, I take it you saw the match on telly this time?
No, because this happened with City. I missed the first 10 minutes.
This is why we won. She stayed away. She missed the first 10 minutes, and that's what happened at City, which was our best performance of the season. There's a trend here. What are you doing at the weekend? Not watching the game? That is the correct answer. That's the only answer I want.
We're selling Jack's car, but we'll be back by the time the game kicks off. Maybe I can buy some more soft furnishings, because clearly looking in here, it looks like we need more. So
I think, the stay away Shan has got to be trending on Twitter by the end of the week or whatever it is, So, yeah, good, all good. HG started off very bland, very sort of workmanlike, very scrappy, really. Were you thinking, here we go again?
Well, I mean, if you believe Frank Lampard, the first 15 minutes, Everton had lots of possession, as you can have at Spurs. But yeah, it wasn't a great start from either side. Everton had, I think, the half chance over the top where Richarlison tried to kick it and basically missed the ball completely. But it wasn't a great start from either side. But yeah, once the first goal went in, then we've said this before. If Spurs score first, confidence is up. And well, actually, we didn't score first, did we? It was Everton that did it for us. But still, if it's in our column, then the game should go well. And if the other team scores first, then there's a bit of panic. So, the start wasn't great from either side.
I mean, I mean, almost immediately though, Kane played Son in, didn't he, James? And we were almost one up him immediately. Gordon got back and stopped him. Gordon's alive, and Son went on to have a very good game, but seemed a bit ponderous in that opening, and we thought that the crowd were getting on his back a bit, actually. Interestingly, we were talking before the game, I know, in the Patreon group about, what does Son have to do to get dropped, because he was pretty terrible last time out. He was fantastic, obviously, last night. But, Son ponderous. At that moment, were you thinking, here we go again?
Yeah, well, he went through, and Sessegnon was to his left, running in, and as soon as I saw him not pass the ball, I just thought, oh, it's going to be one of these games, isn't it? Sloppy, wasteful Spurs. I was watching on my phone. I just thought, oh, for God's sake, we're gonna do this again. It's going to be one of those performances where we have these chances. Neither team's particularly good. It's going to be like a 0-0, or Everton will score one goal in the 90th minute. I'll have to see Frank Lampard stay on TV. There's a great performance, but aside from that, thankfully, it picked up. And I'm happy for Sess, because that was a really good cross for the first goal. Actually, I thought he played really well. Honestly, but I was a bit worried. I'm going to be honest. I don't think there's a Spurs fan who wasn't worried after that.
No, well, Davis fed Sessegnon, whipped a great ball. It has to be said. He showed what I liked about Sessegnon. This is what I was saying to you the other week. I remember when you were saying he's not good enough, basically, HG. And I said, yes, he is. And I think he's proving me right to a degree. Maybe not a top left wing back yet, but you can see potential. He's got to do that more often. He powered through. He used his pace, which you very rarely see him do. It was almost like he had to beat that guy to the ball, and he did put a wicked ball in. And I'll be honest, I thought Kane I didn't know who'd scored it because it came in that fast. It had some absolute whip on it.
So you saw that goal then, Caller, did you? Or was there a view?
Okay, don't worry about that. I mean, the joke can run as long as you like.
It was your end of the stadium, so I wasn't sure.
I got to see three goals. Yeah, it was great. Michael Keane has now scored more goals for Tottenham than Lo Celso did in 2.5 years, and yet he's never played for us, which I thought is a good stat.
Michael Keane's obviously got closer to the goal than Lo Celso ever did.
HG, talk me through Sessegnon. Since we had that conversation, it's fair to say he's been much improved, hasn't it? And he did show what he could do in fits and starts last night, I thought.
I mean, if we look at the 2 assists that he's had, right? Because obviously there was one at Leeds last week. The ball was played in front of him for him to run onto.
Yeah.
So he's not necessarily involved in the play, really, when it comes to the build-up. He is the outlet. If other people can find the pass, then he'll go. Because, as you said, he got to the ball first. I think it was Seamus Coleman who he beat. And although Coleman is in his 30s, he's no slouch.
He's an experienced player as well.
Absolutely. So I think that for Sessegnon, it's all about confidence with him. Because he doesn't look like he really thinks he belongs.
Yeah.
But when things go well, there were a number of times in that first half where the ball could have been played to him and wasn't. The Son one is the obvious case. But there were a couple more options where you see him running through, and I think he's a bit frustrated that they might not be passing to him as much as they can.
Yeah, it was. It's interesting you say that. Really interesting, because what you probably couldn't see on camera because the ball was on the other side of the pitch, Davis was very, very slow in releasing him almost all of that first half. He was ponderous. He took 2-3 touches, and after the ball had gone, Sessegnon was like, they were having a bit of a to-do, really. Like, Sessegnon's going like, look, I'm in a position. Why aren't you releasing me? He's taking 3 touches, Davis, where really he could just literally first time ping it down the line. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that's the ball that Sessegnon wants.
Yeah, I mean, it's a first-time cross at Leeds for Doherty to score. First-time cross for Kane to put it in his own net. Maybe there's something in that too. Again, like we've seen other players at Spurs who, if you give them time to think, they tend to make wrong decisions. Son is another one of those, really. So we've just got to get him doing what we know he can do, because he obviously does have some talents. He's not a rubbish player, but whether he's going to be good enough, I still think that's questionable. But it's good to see us using him more wisely.
It is. And it really sucks that he was withdrawn at half time with an injury, to be honest, because it seems like the poor kid, whenever he gets a run of games, he just breaks or gets an unfortunate injury. I mean, I don't think we know the severity of it, whether it's just a little knock or something that's, unless any of you guys know any different, but we shall see. I'm sure there's a big game at the weekend, so I'm sure we'll hear from Mr. Conte. But killer ball in, that's what I would say. The ball in was going to result in a goal, like with two people flying in at the near post because it was hit so well.
It was a great finish from Kane. You know, like he opened his legs, side foot it into the top corner. I mean, you don't have to do much to beat Pickford, but he beat him. All ends up.
All ends up well. Talking of beating Pickford, 3 minutes later it was 2-0, and I was in like seventh heaven, bouncing around the stand, hurling abuse at Frank Lampard. A 14 or 15 pass move. I mean, Sky were incidentally showing a close-up of Lampard at the time, so it says in my notes John couldn't see how many passes there were in at the start of the move. Obviously Kane to Decky, to Son, to slide it home, and really it was. I mean, Son's finish was a bit half-arsed. I was right behind it, and I thought he hardly hit it, to be honest. I mean, Pickford made a right hash of that, didn't he, James?
Oh yeah, he should have saved that definitely. Pickford's weird, a bit of a weird one, because he's always a lot better for England than he is Everton.
That's very true.
I have a friend who's an Everton fan, actually, and he happily, well, funnily enough, he played as a goalkeeper when he played football, and he's always thought Pickford isn't good enough. Like, this goes back to quite a few years ago, like when I was in secondary school, which was like 4 years ago. He just makes silly errors like that, and I mean, good finish, I suppose, but yeah, poor goalkeeping.
Yeah. And Shan, did you have Pickford in your dream team? At one point, I've got to pick you up on that. I mean, what's that all about?
I had him in my dream team off the back of a very, very good Euros. He won the Golden Glove at the Euros, and I was like,
hang on. So let me get this clear in my head.
He's been in my dream
all the way through.
All the way through.
Christ, I wonder you're doing badly.
I've alternated between him and Guaita, but now he's been sold, and I've got Edison in goal.
It's probably what I'd call that an upgrade, I think.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, just a little upgrade. Who plays in goal for us in a World Cup year then, HG, if it's not Pickford? Because it's about the only choice, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if they get relegated, then it'll be interesting to see what Southgate does. I mean, Nick Pope, Burnley could get relegated too, although Nick Pope might get a move somewhere else. Was it Henderson can't get a game at Man United? Yeah. Who am I missing? Ben Foster?
Don't think you're missing anyone. We're a bit stuck, really. Yeah,
we are.
Who was the guy at West Brom?
Johnston, also Championship. Yeah, James, you were going to say something.
I think Nick Pope is a much better shot stopper than Pickford, except Pickford's a lot better on the ball. And at an international level, you need a keeper who can take a touch on the ball, which is why he won't play Nick Pope.
His distribution's decent, generally speaking, Pickford. It wasn't particularly last night because he was pressured and pressed to high heaven. But when I've seen him play for England, he certainly picks out a pass. And I don't know, maybe that's why Shan put him in the dream team. Thought she'd get a few assists. Who knows? And then Doherty. Let's talk Doherty. My word, did you see? And I did. It was at my end of the pitch. I thought he was going to take a shot, then he twisted and turned and almost smashed it in. Oh. I've got to say, when did Doherty turn into peak Cafu, HG?
I don't think he's quite at that level. More like peak Cafe than Cafu. Sharon, what is it? What's the problem?
Shan's put a tweet out there. It's a bold tweet. Do you want to talk us through it, Shan?
So today I've established the Matt Doherty fan club, of which I am president, similar to you with Conrad Lima, HG. Mm-hmm. And I tweeted out that Matt Doherty is the best right wing back in world football.
Well, yeah, I mean, now that Cafu's retired.
Bold. How good was he that game? I mean, he was really good, wasn't he, James? I mean,
that first time pass he played as well. Oh, that was beautiful. Prime Xavi. He's obviously been taking lessons from somewhere. I was a little bit frustrated when he did the twist and turn and shot because he could have just crossed it and it'd probably been a goal. But then again, he can't cross, right? So maybe it was for the best.
Apparently he can.
It's showing one thing. That's where he's very good, when he's being direct and he's running in the box and he's getting into those more central areas, those half spaces. That's where he's very effective. And
I mean, if only someone had pointed this out prior. You know, that's where he does his damage at the top end of the pitch, and maybe we should play him in an advanced role. If only someone had mentioned that.
I don't know why you didn't call her. Because your dad's a Wolves fan, so you should have known. I don't know why you never mentioned it.
So happy.
This is. I'm not sure if I take this off. There we go. So look at this. Cancelo's there. So he's got one less assist than Cancelo. I mean, who would you rather have, HG? Surely it's the Doc.
Who would I rather have? I'd rather have Cancelo. But if you put Doherty at the left back situation where Cancelo plays, then I don't think you'd see the assists and what we've seen from him. But I would rather have João Cancelo. There's no doubt about that.
Come on, Shan, defend your man.
He's played 14 less games and has one less assist. It's the Dockmeister. It is Matt Maradona that I'd rather have right now. I don't know what happened because Matt Doherty used to make me want to throw my PS4 controller at the screen on many occasions, but he's a changed man. He's having
James desperately wants to say something.
I'm sorry, have you forgotten his superb performance against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup at left wing back? Imagine if he was playing there all season.
Hang on.
Played out of position, and everyone was that day.
Yeah, and Cancelo's being played out of position as a left back.
Yeah, but that doesn't suit my narrative, James. So I'm not going to talk about that.
Okay.
Narratives on the tube.
I rest my case.
Where is Dave when you need him? He's a good loves a narrative.
Sleep.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, good fair point. I like him better that way, to be honest. And then Son, 1-on-1. Clean through. I thought the net was going to bulge, but unfortunately not to be. Shan, could you believe he missed that? I mean, it was a really easy chance.
Son's been missing a lot of easier chances, though. He seems to be putting. Hear myself then.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can hear you fine.
Okay. Yeah, he seems to be putting away the harder chances better than the easier ones. It's really Son is frustrating at the minute. Willow, shut up. Sorry.
Willow, shut up.
Honestly, I look behind me and she's there like.
I mean, this is scandalous. 82 people watching, only 27 likes. Come on, it costs nothing and takes a minute. Not even a minute. Takes like 2 seconds. Just please hit the like button. If you don't, then I will set Steve Diver on you. You definitely don't want that. Because look at this man. I mean, Christ,
scary.
Coming at you. Bless him. He's actually just got landed back from Vegas, so he's probably asleep right now and not watching this. So please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe while you're there. Son does miss chances though, HG, doesn't he? We touched on it earlier. If he's got to think about it, you're in trouble.
No, that's just it. But I think people always say, for Son to have been the player he's been for us, why has he not been linked with other bigger clubs? Because Kane obviously was last summer when it looked like he was going, but Son, had a year left on his deal, I think, and so there was a decent chance that maybe someone would come in for him, but you never saw any links. So I suspect he's just really happy at Spurs, or maybe other clubs don't think he's as good as Spurs fans do. I don't know, but I mean, Shane hit the nail on the head. If you don't expect him to score, he does.
Yeah.
And when you do, it's pretty questionable if he's going to do it. Like when you clean through like he was, take it round the goalkeeper. I mean, you should be able to do that as a professional footballer. He waits and he waits and he waits, and Pickford just stands there. I mean, if that's, I feel like Son sometimes just takes the difficult option.
If he'd have played the ball along the floor, he would have scored. Because there's no way Pickford would have got down to it from that close range. But he almost put it like in the exact space he wanted to. So welcome aboard, Aidan. Aidan's just signed up as a YouTube member, and welcome to all our YouTube members this evening. We hope
Cheers, Aidan.
you're enjoying the emojis, which are uploaded. There's some new ones coming soon as well. But I believe you can access Conte, Son, and Kane at the moment, but those are going to be tidied up, and there's going to be some more choice coming soon. So we are looking to develop the YouTube channel, and of course we'll preferentially read comments out like these. So Matt Doherty's game by numbers versus Everton: 86 touches, 11 duels contested, 9 duels won, 9 final third entries, 5 tackles, 4 recoveries, 4 chances created, 3 crosses, 2 interceptions, 2 assists. Peak right wing back, just exactly what you want to see. Lindy says you should do the like when you log in. Of course you should. So hit the like button. Absolutely jump on board with our members and join our community. Quite a lot of tackles going on at the back. Romero was busy. I thought he was busy bullying Richarlison for most of the game. But we'll come on to that shortly. Sess was troubled a little bit by Gordon and took him out. Was he lucky not to get away with the booking? Do you remember that, HG?
I remember there were a couple of challenges early on. There was one time where Sessegnon tried to tackle him, almost rugby tackle him as he slipped and didn't get near him. But yeah, the left-hand side is obviously, Davies is no Romero. As much as he's a good left centre-back, he's not as good as Romero is on the other side, and it means that Sessegnon maybe has to be a bit more aware, and defending is not his game. But I don't remember the challenges really, but there were a couple of, because Son got one for pulling him back, for pulling a player back, and Spurs did that a couple of times. I think Bentancur did one very early on and got away with it.
And then I think someone did this.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know how the referee saw that one, because that referee doesn't usually see anything. But
I mean, I've got to be honest, right? I was obviously at the other end of the stadium, and I thought, Christ, his legs must be missing, because you almost heard the crunch. He just nowhere near the ball. Absolutely took him out. And then I think what really killed me was this after the game. Romero put this on his Instagram story. Hootie, we love you. Shan, can you remember anyone who's got as much shithousery as Cuti Romero?
My number one, Eric Manuel Lamela.
I think, yeah. Can you imagine Lamela and him in the same team? Well, of course you can, Argentina, but can you imagine them both playing for Spurs?
No, I can't imagine that. Lamela for Argentina? No.
Played for Argentina, behaved yourself.
Yeah, like 10 years ago when he wasn't injured and spent half his life in a hospital bed. Come on now.
Yeah, but can you imagine them both in the same team?
No, because Lamela would be either injured or on the bench. I can't imagine it.
Shan, I'm talking to you, not HG. Just ignore him. Can you imagine him in the same team?
It would make me so happy. Do you know what? Imagine here, like Romero, Lamela, and Bentancur and Højbjerg all in the same team against the Goons.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
It would just be brilliant.
Yeah, down to 9 men after 15 minutes would be us.
Wow. I'll be honest. I think this one sums it up. Great tackle. If it'd been quicker, it'd have been the cage for getting the ball. I think, look, he absolutely killed him, and then he killed him. Humiliation wasn't over on the pitch. He killed him in social media. But if you take that terribly timed tackle out of the situation, he just had Richarlison in his pocket the whole night, didn't he, James?
Oh, yeah. Richarlison did nothing all game, basically.
I mean, he's probably scared shitless of getting, kneecapped, to be fair. But
well, I mean, after that, I would be terrified. I'd think, this guy is insane. He will break my legs. I am scared. I don't care about winning. I just don't want my legs broke. Please don't break my legs, Romero. Please.
I think we need a feature called Card Watch, with how many yellow cards we've accumulated this week for Romero. HG, I know you're the man with the stats. Where are we at in terms of a ban? Because there is some important games coming up for us. And where are we at with Mr. Romero?
So with Romero, he's had 7 yellow cards in the Premier League so far this season.
He's been out missing for months.
Isn't it in 15
No, yeah, well,
days?
this is it. I think it's 13 starts or 13 games and 7 yellow cards. I mean, he's pretty regular. I don't think Lamella could dream of a ratio like that. But I think he has to have 10 before the 32nd game. If he gets to 10 before then he gets, I think, a 2-match ban. So with United, Brighton, and West Ham in the next week, I said this on the pod last night, he could easily get his 2-game ban starting after the international break. We don't know when the Arsenal game is going to be, but I think that's the one that we're all worried about him missing. But he needs to tone it down a little bit because he's getting yellow cards for just breathing as well. I mean, the one against, one last night against Everton was a clear yellow and probably an orange, as they would say in Germany. But he gets yellow cards just for being around sometimes, and he gets involved in situations that he doesn't need to.
I think last time out, wasn't it, against
Borough?
Yeah, he got in a scrap because someone pushed Harry Kane.
It was Kane's fight. Kane had it under control. Next thing you know, Romero steamrollers in from 20 yards away. It's like no need.
The crowd loved it, though. By the way, the crowd were loving it. They thought it was great.
Well, but this is the thing, though. They'll love it till he gets sent off, and then and then it massively disadvantages us. So
we've got six games. Yeah, that would be something like, I know where you live. What's that in Spanish?
Well, I don't know. I don't speak Spanish.
I mean, you're the language teacher, HG. Come on.
You're the cunning linguist.
I teach English, but I could probably figure it out. But still, it's he's got 6 games now before the cut-off point, 3 bookings before a suspension. I think we have to assume it's going to happen. Weirdly, and he was lucky that we were 4-0 up when we took him off, because in some games we wouldn't have been able to take him off, and he'd been walking a tightrope. But last night.
The good news is he's going to play against Man United. That's good. Didn't get sent off. After Man United, we got Brighton. Is it after
Brighton
that?
And then West Ham? Yeah,
they're West Ham. So
I'd be tempted to rest him for Brighton and play Sanchez.
So it's unlikely then that he's going to get suspended for West Ham. So we're in the clear.
It's unlikely. Yeah, I think if he got a violent conduct red card.
Yeah. So we're in for that. We're okay with that. Well, when do we play? Well, we don't know when we're playing Arsenal after. Who's after West Ham?
After West Ham, it's the international break, and then I think it's Newcastle first game back.
Yeah, he could be suspended for that one. So if he's going to go full shithousery, 3 yellow cards in the next 3 games, isn't it? And then he's suspended for Newcastle, then it's slate clean, hopefully.
But, he'd get a 2-game ban. I think it'd be Newcastle and probably, I think it's Villa after that would be the 2 that he missed. Because I like, if it's me, like if I'm the Premier League, that Arsenal game is going the midweek of like April 20, because there's no Champions League games that week. And there are lots of Champions League games, obviously, between now and the end of the season. So that midweek is a good one to have it. But I guess it depends. Arsenal have a lot of games that need to be rearranged. I think the Chelsea one, they need to find a time for that. So it'll be dependent on what the Premier League want. But it's a big game whenever it happens. And we just hope that Romero will be there for it.
Absolutely. And your mum says the guy Romero fouled was rubbish all night and wasn't keen to play for Everton. Richarlison,
I don't think any of them are keen to play for Everton.
No. Certainly not Dele, but we'll talk about him in a minute. And obviously, Kane showed Sonny how to finish 1-on-1. He was never going to miss, was he, like that? Perfect through ball by none other than Matt Doherty. It was obviously a VAR check. It was never offside, was it, James? It was pretty closely on.
It only looked offside because of the angle the camera was at, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you look at it straight on, it's very clearly onside. But
yeah, I thought that.
I thought that check, right?
He got checked. There wasn't any doubt but in the players. I think Kane knew he was well on, because he didn't seem in the least bit bothered about a VAR check. And we get to half time at 3-0. I mean, ball possession, we'd only had 49% of it, but as Mourinho says, you can keep the ball, I'll have the 3 points. Obviously, half-time, Sessegnon taken off with a knock. And Reguilon, I thought Reguilon, Shan, was electric that second half, wasn't he? He was all over the place.
He was, and Reguilon was in my fantasy team, but I've had to sub him out for Doherty now. So my back four.
I'm just going to put it out there that your fantasy team's probably torpedoed by the fact that you've had Pickford in goal most of the season.
It has, but I've actually done quite well. But my back four currently consists of Matt Doherty, João Cancelo, Reece James, and Roman Sykes. So it's all right.
All of these things sound impressive on paper. Yeah. So Sessegnon, apparently, I saw in the chat earlier, hamstring scan this week. He's had lots of issues with hamstrings, so hopefully it's nothing serious. And obviously, Don Conte said it's a muscular problem. I hope it's nothing serious, because every time this player is having continuity of performance, then something wrong or a little injury. So I think that's fairly understandable. And obviously then Reggie came on and scored straight away, HG, didn't he? I mean, we ripped him to pieces with that move, and they were almost queuing up to put it in. Little old Reggie smashed it in. What did you make of that move and goal?
I mean, the move itself, again, I don't think any of our goals were amazing. The last one was the best of them, but it was just simple. We kept it simple, and the cross from Kulusevski was a bit of a p-roller, but it went behind all the defenders. And so when Reguilon was coming in at the far post, it was an easy chance. And I think we've talked before about Reguilon missing chances when he's been put through and blasting it at the keeper. And this time he hit it hard, but he knew where he was just placing it to the side. I mean, Pickford had no chance. Yeah. So it was, it was a great start to the second half, because like every single Spurs fan at some point at halftime thought, well, if Everton score next,
we're not safe.
If Everton score next, you just don't know. But yeah, 4-0, it was done. It was absolutely done. Everton had no desire really at 3-0 to get back into it, but 4-0 game was over, and it was good for Reggie, because he doesn't score too many for Spurs, and like I think he did much better at Sevilla when he was there. So we want to see more of it, and to be running in. I mean, unmarked again, like Everton. I guess the fullback, if the fullback comes across to take, I guess it would be Son. Then there is going to be space for the wing back to come in behind them. So let's hope that we see more of it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then obviously Romero got withdrawn at that point. Hallelujah. Because I was very, very concerned about that. Kulusevski, a shot deflected wide, and then from that corner, the ball broke to Son on the right, who crossed hard and low when he could have shot. And then we got, from the resulting move from that, Kane obviously put it back in, and Dyer rattled the bar. You forget how many chances we had. We could have won this game like 8-0.
We could have been above West Ham if we put all our chances away.
I mean, Dyer's header onto the bar. I mean, that's got to be that was a good chance, wasn't it, HG? He's got like a slab head, really, Dyer. Thundered that ball against the bar, and unlucky he didn't go in.
Yeah, he was annoyed as well. I mean, when the ball hit the bar and went over,
should have scored.
He kicked the post in frustration. But the good thing with Spurs, I mean, in our last 4 league games, we got 3 at Man City, 4 at Leeds, and 5 at Everton. We can forget the Burnley game, even though that was
Middlesbrough.
Yeah, but that wasn't league, so we can forget that one too, right? But in the Premier League, to score, 12 goals in 4 games?
Plus 8 goal difference now.
Yeah, and that goal difference, like we do need to catch up, because obviously Arsenal's is pretty good, but even if we don't get 4th, Man United, I'd rather have 5th and 6th, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's good to see Spurs, actually putting teams to the sword. Yes, Leeds and Everton are bad, but we've got a few games against teams down there. Even though Newcastle are picking up points and Villa are picking up points, like we don't play anyone terrible until I think Norwich last game of the season. But the fact that it's possible that we're now scoring goals kind of at will in some respects can only be good.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the goal difference of the teams around us. So we're plus 8. Arsenal only plus 12.
Yeah.
Man United plus 7. So we've caught from a situation of being like plus 1, not so, a couple of weeks ago. All of a sudden, we're back in the mix, which is fantastic.
I mean, two games ago,
it could well, with it being that tight at the end of the season, like you say.
Yeah, 2 games ago, we were -1.
Yeah,
it's just 2 games. We've 9-0 in 2 games. You're laughing. We beat Arsenal 2-0. Like our goal difference is the same as theirs, and we're at home. That can happen. I always thought that the goal difference was going to be a kind of a Achilles heel for us this year. But after those 2 last games, we are in it now. We almost don't have to worry so much.
Scoring goals and creating chances, that's the thing, isn't it? We're creating loads of chances. I mean, I thought that Dyer should have scored that. Son obviously should have scored his 1-on-1. And Kane nearly followed up and scored that from the 1-on-1 as well. That was only like a foot wide.
There was the Doherty chance as well that he could have scored.
Yeah, you could, but in terms of clear-cut chances, if you say the Dyer one and the Son one, I mean, they're both probably high XG chances. We could quite easily have won 6-7-0. It could have got really messy for Frank, and it would have been a real shame, obviously, for Mr. Lampard's career.
What a shame.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously the ball. Let's talk about Kane's goal then, the 5-0. I mean, firstly, Doherty can cross.
That was a peach of a pass.
Peach of a pass. But how do you even describe that finish? I'm going to talk to you all about this because that was almost Marco van Basten-esque, was it? Oh, you won't know who that is, James, probably. But
Cheyenne, do you know who Marco van Basten is?
You know what I'm talking about, though, don't you, HG?
I do, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Go and look up some of Marco van Basten's goals for Holland. Honestly, I don't know who it was playing against. It was international, obviously, but an absolute on the volley, top corner. Nothing like the Kane one, just the fact that he caught it on the volley, really, from an angle. But how good was that finish from Kane, HG?
It was world class. I mean, weak foot, ball over the top. I mean, I think that because he did the same thing at Leeds, we're getting used to it again. We know he's back to top form. But the fact that he watched it onto his foot, and again, it didn't go into the net. It went in off the posts. I mean, it couldn't have been better placed if you tried.
Yeah.
It's like you want to think it's luck. Do you know what I mean? Like if I ever score a goal and it goes in off the post, I'm not meaning to get it that close to missing. I'm not that good. To me, it would be luck. But when Kane does it, left foot, right foot, from pretty much anywhere he can find the corner, it's an incredible skill.
The control.
Over the top, onto the foot, watched it down. It was a brilliant goal. Absolutely brilliant. And weirdly enough, I almost wasn't surprised when it hit the net. That's how good Kane is.
Well, 5-0. Lampard was a little bit crying, he'd given up by that point. And if I'm being really honest, I think actually at 4-0 they stopped pressing. So I think what made it so easy to create all those chances was once you got past their initial press, they were just so open. It was incredible. So we were quite purposely having the defenders play around with it a little bit at the back, sucker them in, and then hit them on the counter. And honestly, they were so open, it was crazy. But after that fourth goal went in, they really did start sort of sitting deep. And obviously, the Lampard didn't want any further embarrassment. But the Spurs fans were having a great time. There was Ole. I don't know if these came through on the TV. Did you hear you getting sacked in the morning, Shan?
Yeah. I'm singing along in the living room.
And I saw what was the other one? You're just a shit, Steven Gerrard. which was very enjoyable.
True.
Very enjoyable. And Lampard, what's the score? Of course. It was great, really, wasn't it? How bad are Everton though, James? And do you think they're going to get relegated?
Dreadful. God, will they get relegated? On current form, yes. I still think they have good players. Like, I still think Calvert-Lewin's good. I still think Richarlison's a very good player. He always used to score against me on Football Manager, so I have a disliking for him because of that. When I look at their team, I think these are pretty good players. They should be upper mid-table. And even if you don't think Frank Lampard's a particularly tremendous manager, I don't think he's the worst. Rafa Benitez was a decent manager, and I thought if they're really struggling with here, I mean, they've struggled with basically all of the managers they've had, and they've had some pretty good managers. They were mediocre last season. They're just awful. Honestly, they very well could go down. If Burnley keep up positive performances, then, well, they could go down. They'd probably be the biggest team to go down, right?
Well, they've never been relegated in the Premier League.
So, yeah, that would be... that'd be...
It'd be just right that Frank takes them down, wouldn't it? Shan?
They're on thin ice as well because they're teetering with financial fair play. They've got the new stadium in the pipeline. And how are they going to get it all done with the parachute payments for getting relegated.
Well,
I-
and no Russian
Well-
money now as well. No Russian money either.
Well, I
Um,
also read that they have told the council they no longer need a £30 million loan that they had agreed. So I don't know if they've found some oil under the stadium and they've decided to start mining it up or something. I don't know. No idea. That's what I had to spend, like, what was it? Basically no money in the summer because they got Rodone in and, what's his name?
Townsend went in.
Townsend.
And Gray, right?
Gray,
So yeah, they spent like 1.7 million, I think, total. So, and then they went and got Van der Beek and Alli in, which is just what they needed, not centre backs or anyone else. I mean, really, they just have the worst recruitment in the league. Like, we complain about our recruitment, but their recruitment is so much worse. I think they spent more than us, right, over the past like 5 or 6 years, and they have a much, much worse team. It could be worse. We could have Everton's recruitment team.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a chance just to shit Tottenham Hotspur at one point, which there are some parallels in terms of how we've spent money, but I mean, they've gone next level, really, haven't they?
The interesting thing for me is Everton. Like, I think most people think they had maybe 3 or 4 good players. Calvert-Lewin is decent. Richarlison scores a few. Luca Dean at left back was highly rated, and they had a couple of young left backs coming through the system at Everton, and one of them they sent on loan, I think, to Belgian football for the year because they figured Dean was first choice. He was going to stay that way. And another one actually left Everton to go and sign for Southampton, kind of like Livramento did. Just thought, I'm not going to get game time at Everton because I've got 2 people ahead of me who are highly rated. And now they're in a situation where they're playing a right back at left back who they themselves didn't want like 2 years ago when they sent him on loan to Germany. Like, it's not just who they're buying; it's almost every single decision that they're making.
Yep.
They could have recalled the youngster from Belgium in January, but they decided not to, and they signed the Ukrainian kid for 16, 17 million, who's barely played because for whatever reason Lampard doesn't rate him. This happened a week before they sacked Benitez. Like, every single decision they've made for a very long time has not worked out. And that's the easiest way of putting it. I think Godfrey was the last signing of theirs that I thought, okay, that's a good player. Demarai Gray started well for them, but hasn't done a great deal. James, you want to say something?
They're prone to they're prone to committing highly inflated transfers on just very average players who aren't particularly good. And the problem is, with a lack of oversight from a director of football or a board that has a clear footballing identity, they're just signing anyone who they think's decent for way more than they're worth. I mean, how much they buy Pickford for? Wasn't it like 30 million?
30 million, yeah.
Yeah, like there's better goalkeepers for I would be brave and say 5 million, right? Than Pickford in some areas. It's because he's English and he's fancy or whatever. It just screams of like, oh, I've heard of him. We'll get him. How much do you want? 13? Yeah, we got loads of money. It's like when Man City signed, what was it, Robinho or something. It's like, oh, we want someone who people have heard of. Like, oh, we'll get James Rodriguez in. Yeah, there you go. Or we'll get Allen or Decore. Like, we've heard of those. They've played in the Premier League. But they're not very good football players, are they? So,
is my favourite.
Yeah, it's such a bizarre signing as well. It's like, yes, let's... genuinely, just some of the worst transfer policy I've ever seen. I think the only worse at the top flight, well, they might not be top flight for long, recruitment I've seen is Barcelona's recruitment in the past 5-6 years. That's the only worst recruitment I've seen.
In Everton's defence, their probably most creative player is currently in prison.
Yeah.
Well,
it's true, but they've had a long time to sort that out, haven't they? So
they spent 50 million on Richarlison.
It happened during the transfer window, didn't it? So
they did spend 50 million quid on Richarlison, and Richarlison's a good player, but he's fits and starts, isn't he? He's very hot and cold.
But so this is the thing, right? So this season they've got Lampard in now, manager-wise. Before Lampard was Benitez. Before Benitez was who? It's only last season.
It's the guy at Real. I forgot his name.
It's the guy at Real. Ancelotti was there.
Yeah, Ancelotti. Right? There you go. Yeah.
And he was there for 18 months? And before Ancelotti was who? Like, suddenly you're thinking, I don't know. I think Marco Silva might have been before the one. Like,
Allardyce.
Allardyce, Allardyce has been there, Koeman has been there, Marco Silva has been there, and I think we're forgetting one. I genuinely do.
The Belgian manager, Martinet. Is it
Martinez was there before that.
He's awful.
So we've changed manager a lot in the last couple of years, so we can't really say too much. But for Everton,
but not like that.
No, it's the stability.
Yeah.
I think they did really well to get Ancelotti in. European Cup winner at Everton. That's incredible. Yeah. And he bought, I think, some. He kind of solidified them a little bit. He bought Godfrey, they bought Allen, they bought Doucouré for decent sums, but still, it made them a better team. And then Ancelotti did the dirty and said, "Sod it, I'm going after Real again." And I think that for Everton was a big issue, because then they had to start again and try to find the next one. And they could have gone younger. They probably could have gone for Eddie Howe, who I think was an Everton fan, but they just like, no, we want Benitez because he's more stable. He's going to stay around, and then they decide to sack him 6 months later. Like, it is Everton. Every decision they've got rid of the director of football. They have struggled, and that's why they are where they are. Consistent mismanagement and consistent changing will get you to where they are, and hopefully Spurs aren't following that path.
That's a really good point, HG. I think that's the most telling thing about their recruitment policy is, okay, who can we get? We need a manager, right? We haven't got much money to spend. We have a mid-table team. Who do we get? We can get Eddie Howe. No, let's get the guy we've heard of and did a mediocre job at Newcastle. That's their recruitment policy. Summarised better than anyone else could ever say it, I think. That is just the perfect example of their recruitment policy.
Look, there's talking of our recruitment policy, there's 130 people watching and 59 likes, so you're all sacked. Please do hit the like button for us. It really helps the show out. And then I want to get this right. So it was Mykolenko came on, the Ukrainian player you alluded to. Mykolenko. Okay. I thought the tribute was really good pre-game. I'm not sure how much of it they showed. The Ukraine football stands together thing, and the little band there playing in the stadium was good as well. The choir. It's just an emotional time, isn't it, for Ukrainian footballers, particularly? I would imagine. Just a comment, really. Just really, some things are obviously much more important than football. Massively much more important than football. I thought Spurs did it really well, HG.
I mean, you take Mykolenko, he's a perfect example. I mean, he left Ukraine, January? And 4 or 5 weeks later, he wouldn't have been allowed to leave the country. Yeah, right? I mean, it's... I mean, I don't know if the footballers have been conscripted as much as everyone else, but you can see on, Zinchenko gave an interview to Gary Lineker, that you can see that the Ukrainian players, they do have a love for their country, and they want to go back almost, even though they know they're privileged and maybe they can't because of where they are. But yeah, it's...
Well, you look at the box, you look at like the Klitschko brothers and Usyk, you've got multimillionaires sort of with AK-47s trying to defend their country. So it's just bizarre, and my heart, and I'm sure everyone here's heart goes out to everyone affected by it. So I'm really sad that.
If there are any Russian military personnel who are close enough to Putin, do it. Just do it. We're all behind you. Just do it. And it feels like that's the only way out of it right now, which is sad.
It happened before. It happened before. Georgy Malenkov was cooed by Georgy Zakharov and Khrushchev.
Join us after the show for politics talk. Back to football.
The reception Mykolenko got as well from the Spurs fans was really, really good.
Was wonderful. And talking of receptions, Dele Alli obviously came on in the 67th minute, which he was getting a great reception whenever he was warming up down the touchline. I'm sure that you've probably heard that on the TV. But when he came on, he got a 3 or 4 minute "We've Got Ali," Dele Alli rendition. He was absolutely loved at Spurs, and it's just a real shame to see.
Hang on. Was he? Because I feel like every single Spurs fan, or not every single one, but a lot of Spurs fans over the last 2.5 years have done nothing but sling dirt at Dele. So, like, yeah, he was. I think like probably
I'm
like
not sure
Spurs
that's
players.
completely fair, HG.
I had Dele on my
really?
away shirt this season. Like, I love Dele. He's frustrating.
I
And I
think
don't
people
think
just
he's never
that's
reached his
it.
full potential, but I think he's a player that means a lot to Spurs fans because he's part of that 16-17 squad that did so much and took us to places that we never thought we would go. I think he may not have been the Dele that we knew and loved in the last couple of seasons, but he still gave us a lot of great times and good memories. And the farewell video he put on social media brought a tear to my eye. And I think like it made you realise just how much he's done. And he's still only young. He's still only, 25, 26?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to go through.
He's done loads for Spurs, and I think Spurs fans should be very grateful for the service, despite the fact that obviously in the last couple of years he hasn't had the best of times, has he? Well, not a lot really, but we changed in Dele's defence. We completely changed the system, didn't we? And it didn't play to any of his strengths whatsoever, and it doesn't look like Everton are going to play to his strengths either, which is perhaps the more scandalous thing. Why sign a player for in effect 40 million quid if he reaches the conditions?
It's not going to get that. It's not going to get that. I mean, I honestly, I don't know. Was it they have to start paying if he makes 20 appearances? And
20
they only had
is 10 million, isn't it? And then I think it goes up in increments. But I think the 40 million is reachable.
Well, yeah, but not if he leaves. I mean, like, if they get relegated and they say, you know what, we'll let him go on a free because we won't have to pay Tottenham anything because he can't play in the FA Cup for them. So he only had league games and they had less than 20 left this season. So you do think, I don't know, but the odds of Spurs getting 40 million, I think, are slim to fuck all, frankly.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get 40.
I mean, and just on this, I don't know the terms and conditions of that. I don't imagine if they sold him in the summer, there would definitely be penalties in there that favour Tottenham for that eventuality. I'm sure. Wave him off and good luck and thanks. Fans need to move on. Yeah. I think the fans have moved on. If I'm being really honest, Paddy, I think there's just a lot of love for what he did for the club while he was here. I don't think anyone's wants him back particularly. I think it was in his best interest and Spurs' best interest that he moves on. Personally, that's my view. But it is a shame that he's at Everton and they're not deploying him in his favourite position. It's the Doherty argument again, isn't it? It's the same.
Yeah. It's a bad choice for him. It's a bad choice for Everton. I don't really know why he went there. Because we talked before he was leaving. Where would he go? Where would he get to play? Where he wants to play? Where he's best? And Everton, in the scrap they're in, it was never going to be unless they really thought that Lampard would come in and they'd win 3 or 4 games quite easily, and then they'd feel comfortable again. But we've seen lots of teams down there are winning right now. Burnley have won a few. Newcastle, I think, unbeaten in 8, the longest unbeaten run in the league. Yeah. So Everton are, they're basically Everton and Leeds are trying to figure out which team is worse and which team is sinking more like a stone. But I think Everton were unbeaten in their first 4 games and then won 3 of them. So they've won 3 league games in 20 something now. That is relegation
it's
form.
Terrible. If I had it, I'd put it up on the screen.
Right?
Yeah.
I think the decision for him to bring Dele on at 5-0 is disgusting as well. It felt like just another clip. We've got a player that has clearly got not a lot of confidence. You bring him on at his former club when they're 5-0 down. If he was bringing him on to get the reception from the Spurs fans,
I think that might be why he brought him. I thought he brought him on to give him a goodbye. To be honest,
but bring him on
because the game was done. The game was done, wasn't it?
Yeah, but to put him through that, I think.
Paul makes a very good point here. Sorry, James, go
on. Yeah, good point, Paul. I was just going to say 2 things. One, Ali doesn't really suit modern football because not many teams play with a second striker. That was his role, playing off Kane. Basically, no teams in Europe play that anymore. It's an obsolete role. Secondly, I mean, Aaron Lennon always gets a really good reception at Spurs, and I think even I have fond memories of Aaron Lennon. But that doesn't mean I want Aaron Lennon playing for Spurs anymore. Don't mistake fondness for a former player with wishing they were back at the team. And,
I think for me, it was just that for 2.5 years, a lot of Spurs fans have been doing nothing but basically saying how bad he was, And it wasn't out of love. They weren't trying to. It wasn't tough love to try and make him play better. They were just annoyed because their own selves were hurt, and so it just seemed a bit. Honestly, it felt a bit fake. Like we all loved Dele for what he did, but to have it, it feels a bit hypocritical to spend 2.5 years telling everyone how bad he is, and then saying, and then being upset that he left, or like reminiscing over times that we had under him. I don't know. That doesn't sit well with me. But I realise I'm probably in the minority for saying that.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I think that is a valid perspective.
I don't agree with you, but I understand why you would think like that. Having said all of that, Dele did crunch Kane. Absolutely crunch Kane in a tackle, and then he gave him one back. So it was quite entertaining having him on the pitch. And then I mean the game just really petered out into nothingness. Really, we were just keeping the ball and trying to pick them off. Everton was sitting so deep; they would pick Burnley. Yeah. My question is this: we've been envious of Liverpool for a long time with their front three. We've had a front two for a while. With Decky, do you think we've found... I'm going to call him that because it's easier. Do you think we've finally found the missing link in that front three? Because I thought he was sensational again last night, Shan.
Kulusevski?
Yeah,
no, I think so. 21 years old. The guy is just insane. Like some of the things he does, like...
How's the song go?
Give me a ginger from Sweden, came from Juventus and he plays on the wing. Give me a ginger from Sweden, number 21, his name is Kulusevski. Yeah, it's great. It's a great song.
Love it.
But yeah, no, I think, phenomenal. Like he's already outdone Lo Celso in, what is it, next to no Premier League games. It's like 49 fewer games and he's already outdone him. So that's one bonus. He's just fitted straight in. He's young. He's still got a lot of room for improvement. I think he's a Conte player. He does what he wants to do. He does what Conte wants him to do. He wants to suffer. He wants to get involved. He's everywhere. He helps Doherty out a lot, which I think is allowing Doherty to flourish. Because Doherty's form has coincided with Kulusevski getting into the team. So, yeah, I think long may it continue. Hopefully, we really start to see the best of them next season when they've had a pre-season together. Hopefully, if Kane don't go.
Yeah, and he prefers Decky rather than Kulu, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe. Yeah, so there you go. Maybe he prefers Kulusevski. I don't think calling him a ginger from Sweden is necessarily the most complimentary. I think I'd be a bit gutted if that was my chance.
Do you know what the Swedish Spurs supporters club love it?
Well,
they love it. They think it's great.
They're just happy to have a Swedish Tottenham player.
This is true, but the club is good. I think he'd be quite happy with it.
You think he'd be happy with it? We should ask him. Tweet him, Shan.
Get him on the show.
Get him on Insta.
I just think it's crazy for us to remember, like, he's only been at Spurs for 5 weeks and he's already, like, not just part of, like, some players take forever. He's not just part of the squad in 5 weeks. He's part of the first team, and deservedly so. And wasn't it
Poch who liked them to sit on the bench for a year before they fitted in?
Yes, Son sat on the bench for like a year, right? Or 2 years, basically, I think.
Yeah. It's one of those weird things that, obviously he's beaten Lo Celso, but he's also beaten Lucas. He's taken Lucas's spot, and Lucas now is not even first choice to come on. That Bergwijn gets that role, so Lucas is now in effect fifth choice, and so it's great because that's what we want to see. We want to see younger players come in who are better than the older players that we've got, right? I mean, and that goes for Kane. Right, if someone said, okay, we have to sell Kane, but we're going to get Haaland in, like he's not better than Kane, but it would be a pretty good replacement. And Kulu is better than what we've got. Bentancur is better than what we've got, and I think Romero is better than what we had. So we've got to continue doing that.
And we will come and touch on that at the end, I think. And Bentancur is the other player. I mean, we haven't mentioned him yet. He was superb. There's a nice little montage of his best moments of the game going around on social media. But the epitome was, I think in the 87th minute, I can't remember which Everton player it was, was through. Bentancur came from nowhere, sliding tackle, show that hunger and desire in the 87th minute when you're 5-0 up. That's what you want to see, isn't it? That's what you want to see. And I'm just happy I don't have to watch Winks anymore, really. Let's be honest. But I'll come to you, James. Bentancur, because Shan's like literally drooling at the lips when I mention his name. So, James, your view on Bentancur?
I think he's a very, very, very capable box-to-box midfielder. I still don't think he has quite enough creatively if we're going to play two in midfield, because that's my only worry. I think if we were... allow me to explain that. If we're playing against teams like Burnley who sit deep, I don't think we have enough in that midfield to break teams down. However, if Conte was going to play a 3-5-2, then I think he would be the perfect box-to-box player if we had a more creative midfielder in front of him. As, you know, the kind of guy who buzzes around, wins the ball, passes it forward, but isn't the, for lack of a better player, the Eriksen, if you get me. He's better than the options we have. I think the only midfielders I really think are in his tier at the club are Højbjerg and Skip, although I think Skip is better than Højbjerg, actually.
3 out of 4.
Yeah, three. Yeah, we have 4 midfielders, but we sold a lot of them, right? We got, sent a few out on loan, but the fact that, you know, they're at the club says they can't be that bad, I'd hope. I don't know, Eric Dyer could play in midfield still. But yeah, he is a definite improvement on Harry Winks. He's a definite
Everyone is. I'm an improvement on Harry Winks.
All right. Well,
debatable.
I don't know. Ring up Conte and offer to play. I mean, free transfer. Levy loves free transfer.
Paunch on these days. I need to get back on the peloton, actually.
Oh, that's an excuse. Oh, backtracking, moving the goalposts.
No. I'd still take Winks' place, even if I'm fat.
Okay.
Jan Mulby. Again, you wouldn't know who he was. But yeah, he was a fat Liverpool midfielder. Very good player.
Yeah, he's a very good player, and he's definitely an improvement on what we had, basically.
Yeah. There you go. That's an original chant.
That's not the chant, I don't think.
Shan, come on then, your turn. Talk me through Bentancur.
So, do you want the chant or just Bentancur in general?
No, just Bentancur in general. I'm going to give you like a couple of minutes. I can see
Just to compose myself.
You could just get the napkin round your chops first. Yeah. Tell me, this is your stage.
He's just very, very good. Like, I still think he needs to get used to the pace of the Premier League. I've seen a couple of comments where he gets caught on the ball, when he does occasionally get caught on the ball, but I just think he's used to the Italian league, which is a lot slower. So once he gets used to the pace of the Premier League, I think he'll improve with that. But some of his footwork and the way he travels with the ball and his quick 1-2s. What was it, a goal against Leeds where they literally did a 1-2? He did a 1-2 of Sess right up the left side of the pitch, and it nearly ended in a goal. Or was it City? Was it City? I think.
Yeah.
I think it was. Yeah.
I think it was City. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just such a massive improvement. And again, he's only 24 years old. He's still got a lot of space for improvement. He's another Conte player. He'll take direction. He'll do what Conte tells him to do. He'll work hard.
What's his chant? Lindy wants to know.
1 second. And he's got a winning mentality, which is the biggest thing that we miss in our squad. But it is.
Find yourself a minute then.
To the tune of She's Electric by Oasis. This one's for Dave.
Dave, you love that.
He's the reason we'll be playing on Wednesdays next season. He came with his mate from Sweden. It's Bentancur. And that has actually been sung in the stands as well.
Was it in Middlesbrough when we were 0-0?
No, it was Burnley when he went down injured.
Yeah. Hashtag stay away, Shan.
Yeah.
What have Middlesbrough and Burnley got in common? Hashtag stay away, Shan.
Honestly. We don't talk about either of those games. They were both the worst performances I think I've ever seen in my life.
HG, apparently you had a Frank Lampard rant on the pod. Could you care to share it for people who've not listened to the pod yet?
Oh, no. Most of the reason I had the rant, I mean, I don't like Lampard, I never have. But Seb and I were talking before we started recording, and Seb was going on about how he actually quite likes Frank Lampard, although he didn't want to say it on the pod because he knew he'd get trouble for doing it. Yeah, really.
There's nothing likable about Frank Lampard.
No, I think he said something about that he's made the most of his talent and he's worked really hard and he was a good professional and, you know, all
screenshot that for Dave, by the way. I mean, Darren, you're tripping, wrong. Mate. You're awful, tripping. That's
awful
just
opinion.
That was awful. But
awful.
Yeah, but I'll take it. I'll take it because it's going to upset Dave. Sorry, HG. Crack on.
No, it's okay. I just think Lampard. I mean, regular watchers will know there are two managers in world football that I don't rate at all. One of them is Brendan Rodgers, and the other one is Ronald Koeman. I think both of them, their reputation is not based on what they've actually done. Ronald Koeman and Frank Lampard, they are basically the same. Ronald Koeman has only ever got jobs because of who he was as a player, and frankly, Frank's similar. The Derby job, okay, yeah, England midfielder. He did okay at Derby. They got to the playoff final and lost. But most of that was down to the Chelsea loanees that he had. And then Derby, obviously, since then have plummeted, and now Rooney's trying to save them. He got to Chelsea. I don't think anyone thought he was terrible at Chelsea, but then Tuchel comes in and within 6 months has won the Champions League. So there are a lot of questions about Lampard's ability as a football manager, I think. And to get the Everton job, if I'm an Everton fan, I'd have been thinking, what has Lampard done really to get a job at a club the size that Everton are? Everton are a big club. So, I enjoy seeing Lampard fail because I don't think there's any reason for him to be where he is. There are managers in English football that have proven themselves probably. Well, they have proven themselves much more than Lampard, but certainly to have a job at the size of Everton, I don't like him. I don't like him.
No, that is just rude.
Well, he just talks nonsense for me, Lampard. I mean, what on earth? When he said, we knew we'd get a bit of possession here, it's quite easy to do it, or whatever he alluded to.
Because we don't play to have all the possession. We play on the counter.
And he may well have meant that, but what a knob way to put it across,
Idiot, honestly.
Look, at the end of the day, he's a Chelsea boy, and we sacked his uncle, and he probably hates us for that. And
that's true. His uncle managed us, and his cousin played for us. Look, the thing we talk about players who look good in systems. Lampard is a massive one of those to me. At Chelsea, where he had two midfielders behind him, he was in a quality team, and he basically playing the number 10 or the second striker, or however you want to call it. He was a great player at what he did, but I think if you put him in a different team, he wouldn't be anywhere in it. Like England, then he's not as good. Now, let's not say he was a terrible player. He clearly wasn't, but I just think the view that people have of him based on his playing career was enhanced because of the system that he played in. And that goes for an awful lot of footballers. There aren't many footballers that play well no matter what system you have. So Lampard didn't deserve the Derby job when he got it. He didn't deserve the Chelsea job when he got it. And I don't think he deserved the Everton job either. So at some point you have to think, what is it? Why are you there? Are you really any good? And I don't think he is.
I agree with you, and I suppose what is frustrating. I was chatting to a mate of mine, Sean, who I took to the football, and his second team is Coventry. He's watching them tonight. Actually, I think they're losing 1-0 to Luton at the moment. I've got Sky Sports on in the background, and Mark Robbins is the manager there, and he's done a superb job with that team. I mean, superb. Brought them up, got them competitive with no budget. They play attractive football. He's more qualified than Frank Lampard. No, Tony Melbury's more qualified than Frank Lampard, as another example. There's loads of people in the Champions, loads of English managers around who are better than Frank Lampard, but they're not given a chance because they haven't had the career of Frank Lampard. It's not really very fair. So I agree with you.
I think he was already at Borough by the time Everton sacked Benitez. But Chris Wilder at Everton would have been a good appointment. Absolutely would have been. But it's, Sean Dyche is never going to leave Burnley unless he chooses to leave Burnley. Once he's available, he might be considered for bigger jobs, which again is ridiculous.
Sean Dyche.
This isn't an issue that's just limited to English football. I mean, it's an issue in German football. Rangnick wasn't taken seriously for years and years because he wasn't a sexy name.
He still isn't.
And he is a very, very good manager, and anyone who thinks he isn't is just like objectively wrong. I don't care. In the same way that Klopp wasn't. Well, Klopp was in his home city, but it speaks to a wider problem of why England doesn't produce top coaches, and I'll tell you why. And maybe this is controversial. Our FA coaching courses are not as good as the German ones and the ones in Europe. I mean, this is just like, sorry, this is going off on a little bit of a tangent, but how many top English coaches are there? How many top German coaches are there? How many top French coaches are there? How many top Italian coaches are there? How many top Spanish coaches are there? How many top Argentinian coaches are there? Lampard didn't deserve the job, but he's a sexy name, so he'll get jobs. He'll continue to get jobs and not do a very good job, actually. That's the funny thing. And because he plays youth and he likes to go for a bit of a press and a bit of an attacking football, boards will go, oh, I like that. That looks good. That looks good. So he'll keep getting jobs. He'll keep getting all these jobs he doesn't deserve, doing not a very good job. But maybe he'll do the odd thing here or there. I guarantee you he'll keep getting jobs. And it's going to be very funny because he's going to do badly wherever he goes. So I actually quite like that.
James, you've just backed up everything I've just said, but over a longer time period. So thank you for that. XG finished 2.87 to Spurs, 0.32 to Everton. I'm surprised it was that low for Spurs, if I'm honest, given that Son missed a one-on-one and direct the bar. But I guess like Kane's volley would have been a very low XG, really. Or I could just say XG's bollocks, like I have done many times before. The crowd, over 59,000 there. That's the biggest attendance since Conte took charge and on a Monday night too. Are you surprised it was such a big attendance, Shan?
I am. Because after Borough, everyone was in a complete meltdown saying that they were boycotting the stadium. And they weren't going to a game again. So, yeah. I mean, there were lots of tickets on the exchange as well. But it's Spurs. I think a lot of the time Spurs don't deserve the fans or the support they've got, frankly.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of two-way street, really, isn't it? Because I don't think the Spurs faithful are always the most supportive bunch either. like you've just said, we're going to go and boycott the stadium. That's not supporting your club, is it?
It's because we win one, lose one, and we lost last game, so we knew we were going to win this game.
And the word was out there on the street that Sham.
We don't talk about that right now because we've got United on Saturday, so we're going to break that hoodoo.
The word
and
on the
Ralph
street
Rangnick is going down.
The word on the street was that once word got out there that Shan was not going to the game, ticket sales picked up because they knew what they were going to see at a victory.
Levy was rubbing his hands.
Well, just want to bring your attention to Paddy. Paddy's comment.
I knew of one coach who would walk into the Everton job and if things go wrong, he can blow the fans. What, Conte? What's wrong, Shan? Why are you laughing?
Cooler.
Yeah.
Come on now.
What?
You're being incredibly dense right now.
No, I know what you mean. I'm just not engaging. I don't think it's good for my mental health to start talking about that complete tosser. Let's talk about someone else who's not a topper. Christian Eriksen was back in action. How lovely was that to see? James, happy to see him getting on the pitch, and we've got his stats here actually.
Wow.
He's best passer on the pitch.
I didn't realise he played that well. Wow.
Yeah, under the radar maybe. I don't know. It's a low bar at Brentford right now, isn't it? So
well, true, and it's a low bar against Norwich because they're not very good. But still, to come back from what happened to him and play that well,
it's just nice to see.
Game, it's just, I'm just happy for him, and I hope he stays well and he can play football. I mean, he's obviously playing football because he wants to play, right? Yeah. So I'm just really happy he's well, because that was horrible what happened to him, honestly.
I just hope that he can beat the first men. To be honest, a goal from set pieces, because that was always his sticking point at Spurs. But it is, on a serious note, it is great to see Christian Eriksen back playing. Birthdays, some legends for you here, some absolutely legends. Clint Dempsey's birthday today. Remember him?
Legend, one season legend. He was the actual Spurs one season wonder.
Well, signed in 2012, sold in 2013 at the same time as Bale and Scott Parker, would you believe? 43 games. How many goals do you think, guys? So I'm going to go around you all. I mean, Shannon, James, you're probably at a disadvantage here because you're not old. But you can have a guess. 43 games. Clint Dempsey. Dempsey. How many goals, Shan?
I reckon it was quite a few.
Based on your extensive knowledge.
That's a great answer. I like that. Quite a few.
Clint Dempsey. I don't know why, but I quite liked Clint Dempsey. He's one that always sticks in my head, probably for wrong reasons, but I reckon it was about 7.
Okay.
Weirdly enough, I was going to say about 7 too, but I'll go a couple more. Let's say 9.
Okay, James?
11.
You're close, but no cigar. So Paul and Mark are both right. 12 goals. Tricky.
I saw the comments and I was like, should I cheat? Should I see? Are they guessing?
To be fair, they probably Googled it, but
Yeah, I imagine they did. But yeah, it was just like when 2 of them guess the same number, I'm like, someone's looked it up, surely. But yeah, I suppose 12 in 40 games isn't bad considering he wasn't a regular starter for us. Do we remember any of his goals for us? I can think of 1, 2. I can think of 2.
It's a fog.
Can't remember any, to be honest.
I know he scored a few, but it's a fog. But I just want to bring your attention to this because the amount of slander I get, right? The Burnley Hills and the rain, probably one of the worst performances of the season to then be called a jinx. Honestly, I risked my life going up and down.
I've got to be honest, though. You were warned.
Yeah, we told you beforehand.
We told you before, don't go, we'll lose. We told you before the Middlesbrough game, don't go, we'll lose.
You were warned. You did not heed the warning.
That drive, the Middlesbrough was a great day and it was an all right drive. It was an easy drive. Burnley, I'm never going there again. It was a horrible place. There was no signal. There was piss all over the floor. It was gross.
Don't go back to Burnley.
Never go back to
receive a warm reception, are you?
Proper Northern. Oh no, they'd love it if Shan goes because they know they're going to get 3 points. Niall John's birthday on the 8th, so almost his birthday. It is his birthday. Today, on loan at Charlton, my dad's boy at the club, but yet to get any pitch time. There you go. Joe Nichols, goalkeeper. Played 124 games between 1927 and 1936.
But Dave remembers it well.
And then on this day, or as near as, damn it, okay. So, FA Cup 6th round, the 7th of the 3rd, 1993. Manchester City versus Spurs. We won actually, 2-4. That was before oil. BO. A Spurs player got a hat trick. I'm going to ask you, HG, because you're the only one old enough to remember this.
I watched it on BBC One. It was
do you remember who got a hat
Sunday
trick?
Afternoon. Absolutely. Yeah, of course I do.
Go on then.
Naeem.
Yes, from the halfway line. Ooh, what a player. Do you know, I'm just looking at the team lineup from that day. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 of the starting 11 were English.
Like most of our teams then.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah. Torstvedt and Naeem were probably the only 2, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I've got another teaser for you, HG. So, on the 7th of March, 1984, Tottenham played Austria Wien.
Oh, really? Austria Wien?
Wien. It'd be Wien, wouldn't it? Yeah. Do you want to have a little guess at the score?
I should know, really, shouldn't I? Since I live in Wien.
We should do. It was 1984, to be fair.
Yeah, I know, but this is probably the last time the two teams have played. I mean, Spurs don't play in Austria very often. It would have been UEFA Cup, right? UEFA Cup quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Was it at Spurs or in Vienna?
It was at Spurs.
Okay, I'll go 2-0.
Oh, you're correct. 2-0 is correct. Blimey, there you go. 8th of March, 1995. Spurs 3, Ipswich 1. Any guess of the goal scorers?
Oh, I went to that game.
Did you really? We should know this.
Because it was 3 days before the Liverpool FA Cup quarter-final, which is my favourite Spurs game ever. And I lined up to get tickets around our White Hart Lane to pick up the ticket for the FA Cup game at the weekend.
Yeah.
3-1. Ipswich had just lost 9-0 to Man United, so 3-1 wasn't great, but I have no idea who scored. I guess Klinsmann, because he'd have been there. Sheringham, because he'd have been there.
Klinsmann scored. Sheringham didn't score.
Okay. Who else was there that time? Barmby
scored, and the other one was an own goal. So,
and
it was 3-0 actually. They didn't get a goal. So there you go.
Another thing, like just weirdly, when Paul Gascoigne was manager of Kettering Town all those years ago.
I know that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So the owner of Kettering at the time was a guy called Imran Ladak, and he got into serious trouble for various things. I was in the same class as Imran Ladak, and I went to the Ipswich game with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. So he was a bit shifty even then. But
did all right for himself, though, by all accounts.
He did do very well for himself, and I think those days of being shifty are over. I should say that publicly. But he and I were in the school together, and we went to the Ipswich Town game together. 3-1.
3-0. Actually, 3-0.
Oh, you said 3-1 earlier. I thought it was 3-0, but I didn't correct you.
No, I said 3-0.
No, you didn't. You said, "Oh, fine, go on."
Well, I'm going to rewind it back after the game. We'll continue our little squabble. And then the 9th of March 2008. So hopefully, Shan might be able to play along with this one. James, how old would you have been in 2008?
5.
Probably not for you. Shan, how old would you have been in 2008?
13, nearly 13, 12.
Possible then. Possible. Were you supporting Spurs by that point?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was Harry Redknapp's 2 points from 8 games team. 4-0 victory against West Ham. Any guess on the scorers, Shan?
Super Pav?
No.
Oh, Gareth Bale?
No.
Peter Crouch?
No.
Aaron Lennon?
No.
Jesus Christ.
They were. Aaron Lennon played. Crouch didn't. It's pre-Crouch, isn't it?
Think short. Wait, 2008? No, it wouldn't have been him either.
No, because 2000 was it? Oh no, it was 2010, weren't it? We made the Champions League.
Think Bulgaria.
Yeah, Berbatov.
Berbatov got a brace. Yeah, Berbatov got 2. Think record signing at the time, Englishman.
Okay. He's on TalkSport now.
Oh.
He's an Arsenal fan, doesn't like Spurs.
Oh, Darren Bent.
Yeah, Darren Bent. And Gilberto, who I'd forgotten even played for us, to be perfectly honest. But
so who was the last one?
Gilberto.
Oh my gosh, he scored for Spurs? He was wonderful.
Came on for another player I'd forgotten about, Steve Malbronk.
Okay.
Oh,
who was decent in fits and starts. But yeah, people say we haven't improved in the last 2. We have, trust me, we have. Yeah, there you go. Right, we're in any other business territory now, so this is good. So
questions from the
panel. So absolutely fire your questions in or your super chats if you're feeling generous, and I'll put them to the panel. So keep them clean, obviously. There's obviously a lot of noise on social media right now, and I want to ask if any of you are particularly outraged about the season ticket timing. So I think they've asked for the money by the end of April, is
By
it?
the end of April, I think 29th of April.
29th of April. You got a view on that?
Scandalous.
You got a view on that, Shan?
I do think it's a bit early, and I do think it's a bit tone deaf to what's going on in the country at the moment.
Well, they've frozen the prices.
Yeah, that's good. It's good that they've frozen the prices, but 29th of April, you've still got a few games to play, and it could be all to play for. You don't quite know what you're going to be getting. And
What you do? You're going to be getting 20 games.
you know what I mean. Stop splitting hairs. The thing is, as well, at that point in April, no one really knows how this energy crisis is going to affect them. They could be fine in April. Come December, they might not be. And I think that's what's obviously in December you can't leave it that long, but I just feel like it's not given a lot of people to make a lot of time to make their decisions. And I get why they're doing it, because obviously there's a lot of uncertainty around. It gives them more time to get the season tickets allocated elsewhere if they don't renew. But still, I do think they could have given fans a little bit more time.
Well, my opinion, you like that comment. My take on it is this: I don't think it's a particular problem asking for the money when they are, because they always ask for it about that time. It's fairly normal. So to see people that, I think it might be. I don't think it is slightly early. I think it's pretty similar. It was just last season, obviously, it was different because of COVID. The last couple of years have been different because of COVID. I'd have to go back and have a look, but I don't have a problem when they're asking for it. I have a problem with how much they're asking for a ticket to Spurs. And for me, this is, again, the club doesn't really cover itself in glory when it comes to helping fans out. I mean, ticket sales are a relatively small chunk of money to us. It's not going to make that much difference if they took £100 off everyone's season ticket price, for example. They could really help out people and score some really good PR stuff, and it not really affect any of the budgets. But we don't do it, do we? I mean, it'd be interesting to see what peer clubs are doing. I know there's a lot of clubs renewing the season tickets at the same time. But HG, you've no doubt got a view.
Yeah, I've got a view. Like, again, I'm not a season ticket holder, so I don't know what it usually is. But I suspect, given what I've seen from the Supporters Trust today on Twitter, that it was earlier than normal. I think usually you get maybe till the end of May. So you do at least know what's happened in the season and what you're going to get for your money. With the season ticket, do you just get access to the 19 league games?
Yeah, you don't get
anything else.
If you're in hospitality, you get European games as well. But if you're a general season ticket holder, then you just get league games anyway. So it wouldn't make a blind bit of difference where they finish in the league, unless they get relegated. James,
how much are the season tickets for normal ones?
My season ticket is 1,250 odd quid.
Okay.
But they vary.
You can get them in the South Stand for $8.50 though, can't you?
I think $7.90 is the cheapest I've seen, and I think there's like a certain amount of affordable tickets that are like $5.90, $600, something like that. But there's very limited numbers of them.
I do feel like the average is probably about 1,200. That seems to be the 60 quid a ticket for your more than 60 quid a ticket because you only get 19 games.
I think the average is like 900, 1,000. Yeah.
Okay. It's an awful lot of money, and I mean, people are right. People don't have that money right now, and everyone's nervous about what's going to happen with the energy costs because no one really knows. There's lots of scare stories, but I mean, logical scare stories because we get our energy from places that the price is going to go up. So I don't think it's necessary to do it. Well, I understand that next season starts a week or two earlier because of the World Cup, but still, they're doing it before the end of the season, and that to me shouldn't happen, right? Regardless of what you get for your money, just wait until the end of the year. And weirdly enough, had they waited 24 hours until after the Everton game, before the Everton game, people were nervous. Right, and what's going to happen with Spurs? Oh, now we've got to find another grand from somewhere. Yeah. Whereas after the Everton game, you win 5-0, people would have been more okay with it. I mean, the timing matters a little bit. So I don't like it, but I guess that if you're a season ticket holder at Spurs, you should be used to it now because ENIC haven't changed their system.
This is the thing for me, HG. So there's a lot of outrage, but we know everyone knows what the crack is. Like, there shouldn't be any surprises, really. Yeah, they might ask for it a few weeks earlier than normal, or not. I don't know the facts on it. I need to research that. But the reality is, everyone knows that the season tickets at Spurs are the most expensive season ticket in the league, and without sounding ridiculous and patronising people, which is not the intention, you can't put a season ticket ahead of looking after your family or heating your home. That's just ridiculous. But I think as a result of all of this, living cost wise squeeze, I think there will be people that do drop their season tickets because they just can't afford it.
And the simple thing is, just because the club can do it doesn't mean they should, right? Like, they can sell their 45,000 season tickets to, someone will pay for it. I'm sure there are going to be people who are like, okay, now I have the chance, but
it's like 50, 60,000 people on the waiting list.
Yeah, but that's because they're members.
I'm 70,000, nearly 71,000 from the waiting list.
But they will, Sean, the guy I go with, he's mad for a season ticket. He's in a similar situation to you, Shan, in terms of club membership. If the reality is, people like him will just buy one.
But Shane, if you were number one, right, on the waiting list, would you buy a season ticket if it came up?
I think it'd depend on what season ticket came up and the situation we're in at the minute. No, because we're moving into a house and we don't know what our living costs are going to be. We're already going down to one car to try and negate those costs. We've got a wedding to save for. So this season, I'm half hoping they don't call me up and ask that in a season's time or 2 seasons' time. Probably yes. But,
and that's the thing, isn't it? Like, because no one's really certain. It is a shitty thing to do, right? Like yes, they've always done it, and we should the idea that we should somehow accept the fact that they're awful in this. It doesn't fly with me. Like, you have to be, the outrage needs to stay there. We shouldn't be surprised that they're doing it, but we should still be outraged that they're doing it because, let's face it, like, football isn't what they want it to be. It shouldn't be what they want it to be. The fact that we can sell 60,000 tickets at 60 quid a ticket or whatever it is doesn't mean that we should. If they can cap away ticket prices, they can cap home ticket prices as well. And the fact that they don't is just greed.
Yeah, I mean, it's down to the Premier League as well, though, isn't it? It's not just about Spurs.
But Spurs could do it. It doesn't matter what everyone else. Spurs could do it. Sorry, James, go.
It's an England-wide problem. Our season tickets are double the cost of a Borussia Dortmund season ticket. It's an England-wide. Germany's the only country that has it run properly. I'm not going to go off on a tangent about this, but ticket costs just in the country broadly are much, much higher than at clubs in Germany, for example, right? It annoys me. I suppose in regards to a season ticket, I think, and sorry, this is might come across as very odd. I'm 19, but I feel like if you have £1,000 to spend on going to football matches, you are probably more affluent to the point where a rise in the cost of energy possibly isn't going to outweigh that. I think you can probably protect yourself because at that point you are middle class, right? But
I'm not sure if that holds. Let me put this point to you because it's and I'll stick with you, James, on it so you can have your piece. So, right. Paddy, obviously, shout out Paddy. We talk a lot on Twitter. Football is where getting away from the doldrums of day-to-day life. Christ Almighty, if Spurs is your release.
Psychotic.
Hard yards, isn't it? So we need to look at that too. And sort of what Paddy was saying was, a lot of people who don't earn a lot of money still fork out for a season ticket, pay it off monthly or whatever the way of, because they do finance obviously for the season tickets. People who can't pay it all in one go, and people will pay it because it's their release.
They love the club.
And they love the club, and they've got nothing better to do on a Saturday. Or they absolutely love and worship Spurs, and people do. Lots of people go who are not affluent middle class people. That's all I was going to say.
Okay, yeah. So I'll accept I was potentially incorrect on that point. But yeah, inflation is near 6%. I mean, something really does need to be done about rising energy costs and the fact that wages have been stagnant for 40 years for most people. But that's a wider economic problem. Anyway, yeah, I think our season ticket costs in this country are just broadly too high. I mean, like, they're ridiculous. They could be a lot lower, and clubs still make money. I mean, the Premier League is the highest TV revenue league in the world, right? And yet we have the highest season ticket costs.
Not just a little bit higher, massively higher.
And yet we have the highest season ticket costs. Like, it makes no sense.
And the international TV rights doubled, I think, in America this time around. Like this, there is no need for it. I mean, Kulis says what 45. If we've got 45,000 season tickets and they all go down by 100 quid, I mean, my maths isn't great, okay, but that's a few million, right?
4 million.
Yeah, but like, yeah, when the revenue is 450 a year, 4 million isn't much, and that 100 quid would mean a lot. Like, we often talk about optics, like it would mean a lot for Spurs to do that, but they are never going to do that because the owners have never done that. It's always been about maximizing revenue, and we are customers to them.
Once you've nailed your flag to the mast almost and set those prices at a certain level, it's very unlikely they're going to backtrack and reduce them. All I'm saying is that we could afford to do it. We should be doing it, and it's not good. In my opinion, it's really not very good that we don't do anything about it, because
I think what we need to remember as well is, like, it's not even just the Premier League. Like, I think my stepdad used to pay £500 a year for a season ticket to Ipswich Town. They're in League One.
Yeah,
so you can get a season ticket at Spurs for double the price, and I know it's not great some of the time, but you're sitting in a much nicer stadium. You've got much better facilities. You're watching much better football sometimes, occasionally.
Sometimes you get to see Romero clatter through people.
You get to see Romero clatter. You get to see I do think our prices are too high, and I agree with James. It's a nationwide problem, but all season tickets throughout the Football League are way overpriced. You pay £25 a match to go and watch Colchester United. That's what I paid to go to Borough for the FA Cup. It's insane.
Yeah,
there's no need for it. It is that simple. There is no need for it, and they do it because they're greedy.
Yeah,
just by luck to support the
I mean,
most expensive club.
The reason I've kind of potentially had that view of the average season ticket holder is because the price to me has seemed so high. It's just always seemed incredibly unattainable for myself, right? I mean, I'm a student, but I can't imagine I'll ever be in a position to buy one. So,
You just need to work for Tesco, James. Then you can. Apparently, they're really good employers.
I don't know anyone who works for Tesco, so there you go.
There are other supermarkets available, just to get that out.
£703 million debt, yet no naming rights. Yeah, there's no naming rights because they're in the pipeline, I believe. But I guess that's in relation to the season. Subject. Well, we can cover that subject because I mean, again, the Twitter sphere has been sort of on meltdown alert. Joe was in it. The rumor went out there. Joe Lewis was in attendance, and he was. His car was seen driving. It definitely wasn't Mercedes S-Class. I did think when you said he's in a Mercedes S-Class, I thought that's a shit car for Joe Lewis to be in.
Find some more paintings.
Sure enough, I did say, I called it right. I said he'll be in a Bentley, and sure enough, he was in a Bentley. But interesting that he was at the game because he's not normally. I think last time he was in, he met Steve Diver in the hospitality section.
That's enough to make him not want to come back for a while. Let's be.
Yeah, maybe.
I think we scored 5 that night as well. So maybe Joe, if you're watching, come to every game.
Yeah, and invest some money in the team or sell it. Either or is fine by me. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of rumours. What did you hear, Shan, about naming rights then? I heard Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon were one of them.
Kerry says the Amazon.
Amazon.
Sponsored by the
Amazon
Rainforest.
were one of them, but I believe I don't think that can happen because they'd lose their streaming rights for the games that they they have on.
Okay.
I don't think you can have like that kind of relationship with the club if you're broadcasting Premier League games. I think apparently it's a conflict of interest, so I think that's a non-starter.
Then we should just name it the Jeff Bezos Arena. Nothing to do with Amazon. Nobody could prove a link.
The
between
Blue
the
Streak
two.
Arena. Whatever.
That's right.
Blue Origin. Blue Streak was a flipping British missile
they're very
program in
good
the
at
60s.
advertising them right now, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Let's be really honest. Jeff Bezos has got absolutely zero interest in buying Tottenham Hotspur, and what a load of nonsense. Amazon, do they really need to buy a football club to be known? No, it would just be a vanity thing.
Nike. I think the other one was Nike that I saw, which would be more.
That could
I can
absolutely
imagine.
happen. Yeah, that might have some legs to it.
I mean, the thing that's most, I would have said would have been most likely, but won't be now, is that some semi-ambiguous figure with scandalous morals would purchase them.
Samsung.
Oh, that's interesting.
There was Samsung. There was links with Samsung because of the Sony links. That's another one that I saw going around. Samsung, the Samsung.
It wasn't this one.
Tesla.
Much as though that would be like some sort of dream for me.
I think the interesting thing is, like, everyone's talked about, we've had the stadium, 3 years now? Yeah, 3 years since it's open. That's crazy. 3 years, no naming rights. So we've lost out on, let's say 50 million.
No one using the Sky Bridge either, HG.
Right? Yeah, let's say it's 50 million quid we've lost. But, we did a deal when it came for Nike to make our kits, and it was like 15 million a year for 15 years, or like a really long deal that we didn't need to do, and we did it. And now that is probably really good value for Nike. So at some point, it's like, well, which one are you willing to take the money now because you need it? Maybe the shirt sponsor, the shirt maker was the best one to do, because if you get the naming rights right, and now that we've got NFL, we've got various other things there in the stadium, the naming rights will be worth more. And so I don't mind the fact that we haven't done it yet, although it should happen soon, because until once we've got concerts, that would mean that we've done everything in the stadium that we're probably going to do. We've got rugby league games in a couple of weeks, or the Challenge Cup final in May. So that maybe in the summer, I suspect in the summer we might see something happen on this front.
Yeah, and obviously we've got it'll be very interesting to see the accounts next, with a full year of revenue in it and what that does. I just don't think there's any rush with the naming rights. I don't think they were ever in a rush. They wanted to, that's the whole reason it was named the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, was to put the stadium on the map, so that when the NFL, was on in the States, they would know where that place is, and we could be the sponsors of that. I think it's perfectly strategic and deliberate. The people who think that it's really urgent to get the naming rights in are barking at the wrong tree. It's not urgent at all. From a business perspective, it's absolutely not urgent. Depends ultimately.
Nice, we might sign a striker if that deal gets done.
I mean, we won't sign anyone. It will go straight across the stadium build. It's also that's the other thing. You are incredibly naive if you think that naming rights money is going to go into the transfer coffers. Of course, it's not going to go into the transfer coffers. It's going to pay back the £700 million that we owe for the stadium. Reality, that is what it is. It will help the cash flow situation of the club, because we'll be paying less debt, and therefore we may have an extra. Bearing in mind we only pay 26 million quid a year on the actual stadium debt, which, by the way, weirdly is less than Arsenal pay a year, which I found very interesting in the Swiss Ramble update you sent me the other day, HG. That's the sum total of the effect it will be. Like, I don't see the naming rights being a game changer for signing a big player. It's just not.
No, it's just not. You get a lot of people saying, we need more money to sign players, which is true, but then they're also upset that the club is run as a revenue stream. When, which is it? Like, if you want people, we can go out and sign players now. We could, right? The fact that we don't is an issue. But what we do with the 30 million a year, 35 million a year that we actually get for naming rights, it certainly won't all go to the players. So it's, I guess we just have to, for us, the decision is,
no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't
No,
need
no,
repaying. Sorry, I'm just picking this
go
up.
on.
It doesn't need repaying it with any urgency whatsoever. It's fixed at very low interest rates over a very long period. So there's absolutely no problem whatsoever with the debt.
I think as fans, our decision is basically, are we willing to pay the money to go and see the team, right? Because that's really the only thing we have any control over. If we're not, then the fees, the ticket prices will probably come down. But right now, people are. If we can get 59,000 to go and see Everton on a Monday night when we just lost to Borough in the cup, you can understand why Levy's probably thinking we're okay here, lads. Yeah, we'd like 62,000, but with West Ham as the next home game, it'll be a full house for that. We've got Arsenal to come; that'll be a full house. If Spurs go on a run, that the final home game, I think it's Leicester, that will sell out. So it's tough.
Guns N' Roses, yeah. I wish I'd be there for that one. Clashes with them, unfortunately, the British Grand Prix that weekend. So I had to pick one or the other, and Max Verstappen. I choose you.
And you chose the one that's a fix. It's just really.
I'm sure I'll get another chance to see Guns N' Roses. I see Lady Gaga has been rescheduled as well. Shan, are you excited about that? You going down to do you like a bit of Gaga?
That's an interesting face.
She either didn't hear what I said, or because she was texting, or is not excited by Lady Gaga at all.
I was looking at egg chairs on Amazon.
which is infinitely more interesting. Just on this, there's no way Tesla are sponsoring the stadium, like none. Ridiculous rumor. So yeah, stadium rights. There you go.
Any other?
This last comment here, right? ENIC are here forever. Like none of us want that to be the case, Stuart. But we have to deal with the fact that they might be here for a very, very long time, right? It is a cash cow for them. Yes, that sucks, but
it's not a cash cow.
Well, it will be.
A cash cow is something you constantly take money out of.
Yeah, but they could, right? They could easily. They could do what Man United do. Absolutely.
They could, but they've never have done in the whole 20 whatever years they've been in charge. So
Man U was different though, right? Because when the Glazers took over, they took over by taking on the debt to the club itself, if I'm not mistaken, in purchasing the club, which ENIC didn't do, I don't think. And also, Man U is completely different in the fact that it's the biggest football club in the world aside from Real or Barca, so their revenue is gargantuan compared to us. But they certainly could in 5-10 years time, but that would assume that we have some stability in a top 6 sort of thing, which is unlikely. The only issue for them, I think, is who's going to buy us from them.
Well, because I think this is another. I mean, look, you've got Chelsea up for sale for what? It's going to be about 1.5 billion by the time he's desperate to get out, isn't he? Desperate, I'm desperate for him to be sanctioned.
That'll be so funny, literally.
Can you imagine if the British government owned Chelsea? I mean, they already make a mess running the country. Not too political, but imagine them transfer running that mess. Boris could be the Chelsea manager.
He'll come swinging in from Stamford Bridge on a blooming what was it? He was on a zip wire with a flag.
Yeah, he got stuck.
The Chelsea flag.
This is it with
What
Spurs.
a shame.
Joe Lewis will not be there forever. He'll sell if he gets the right offer. Well, he won't be. His daughter's lined up to take the Empire.
Apparently, his daughter's even worse though.
But this is the thing, right? Okay, with Abramovich, right? Because something's finally being done about the barrage of dirty money and sports washing. Who's going to buy us? Beforehand, maybe some rich Russian or some rich from that other particular part of the globe.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's being sanctioned, it's being cleaned up. It's not going to happen. So,
Chelsea are having problems selling, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's all a lot of American banks. Investment companies that are going to buy Chelsea potentially,
and they're going to be, and they might be worse than ENIC. I mean,
we can only pray for that to happen.
God. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, again, an investment bank could buy us and be worse than ENIC, right? Like, people always think, people have the idea that every owner other than ENIC is Abramovich, but they are the minority. So,
It will be an interesting one, because obviously there'll come a day of reckoning where ENIC do maybe get a bid, but in the meantime, I don't think they're in any rush to get rid of the club whatsoever.
I think the only real thing that would massively improve the club in the term of the fact that it's a football club is if fans bought it, but that will never happen because the price tag is way too high.
Oh, you got no chance.
Unless ENIC got desperate for whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe some of them disappeared. I don't know.
There is only one. There's only like one or two scenarios in which ENIC sell the club, and in reality, they're probably only going to sell it to another investment company now. And I think the Premier League are going to revisit the fit and proper owners test on the back of all of the Abramovich being in here, and which is going to screw anything in future. So you're almost left with a.
I think they were going to do that after Newcastle anyway, right? Or they were calls to do that anyway. Because even Abramovich and that the dirty money from that side of the world must be condemned, but also Newcastle's owners are equally morally abhorrent and repugnant, so they have to be condemned equally. So
I also read that with Spurs that Daniel Levy wants to sell as chairman as a condition of someone buying the club anyway. That's just a rumour, but we'll pay attention to rumours. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
I don't think Daniel Levy is the biggest problem. I think Joe Lewis and his lack of investment is the problem. I think if Levy could invest more, he would. But ultimately, it's Lewis with the money and the fortune, not Levy. So his hands are tied. He can only work with what he's got. The thing that's let Levy down is his recruitment, which he's now got Paratici in to help him with. So Levy as chairman, I'm okay with. It's the ownership and the lack of investment from above him that is the issue.
He has made some exceptionally shit decisions, though, and does come across like
Super League and recruitment, yes, and some of the
I don't think the Super League was a terrible decision, because I think it's a terrible decision with hindsight, but he knows what's going to happen in the future, and he doesn't want Spurs to be left behind with it. So I don't think his intentions are necessarily what people think.
Yeah, but why do you think he wants Spurs to be part of it? Is it because he loves playing Barcelona twice a season?
No, it's because it guarantees two things: more money for
him,
not necessarily for him, for Tottenham, and because he pays himself a very good salary anyway, and it guarantees Tottenham at the top tier of football forever. That ultimately, who's not going to be interested in that?
I don't want to.
In the Premier League.
I don't watch the Champions League now.
Right? Only because Spurs aren't in it. If Spurs were in it, you'd watch it.
I'd be watching Spurs. But I get bored of playing Barcelona every year. I absolutely would. It's not what I'm used to. It's not what I want.
It's going to come.
It may well come, but that doesn't mean I want my team to be part of it. Like I just certainly not if it's a closed shop. I think the closed shop part was the
closed shop. That's the part of it that's not right. And I think if they reformed it, I think football fans wouldn't have much problem with it. It is purely that closed shop thing. Or certainly fans of the teams that are in it wouldn't have the founder clubs, as you like. They wouldn't have much problem with it. It's the fact that you can't get relegated. What's the point in having a system where you can't get relegated or promoted? There's no jeopardy. No one wants to see like NFL in Britain, do they? That
structure is just an example of the increasing Americanization of sport. I mean, sport, football, end of the day, isn't about winning trophies. It's about community. It's about the community that the sport brings together.
Oh,
and
James.
About the fans. That's my view. And I'm right.
It's also about winning.
It is. But the most important thing is the community and the people's lives it enriches. Okay? That's my take. So having a Super League, not very Super League, is it? It would decimate those communities. I think sport is getting a point where it is not about community as much anymore, which is wrong, and it should be about community. But I don't know. If I had the Super League in the form it was presented and gone ahead, would I have wanted to watch Spurs? I don't know, because it's not something I can support from like a principle. You know,
I mean, I'd echo this. That, you know, it is completely based on money. The soul has been taken out of the game, and worse, it's been absolutely
on Germany.
contrived by all right, British football, we should say.
Yes.
And it's been completely ruined by a few very rich people chucking a load of money into it and sort of, you know, perversing the whole system, because there's only really 3 teams that can ultimately, maybe 4, that can ultimately spend and win. You're always going to get City up there. You're always going to get Chelsea up there while I've got Abramovich. We'll see what happens with them in the future. And Newcastle will obviously be up there. There's no 2 ways about it. It might take them 2 or 3 years and a few managers in between and a few players in between, but they will get up there because. And you really, the question is, and I agree with you, James. Your view is, in my opinion, right, but is a romantic view, not a realist view. And unfortunately, since the formation of the Premier League, that was all about greed, and it's got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse over the years. There you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was set up potentially for, in some people's eyes, the right reasons, but then in other people's eyes, the wrong reasons. You know, good intentions and all, right? Well, look, I could say so much about what I want football to be in this country. I want it to be something that's led by fans, but that won't happen, right?
No.
Unless there was something from government, right, that changed that, but there never will be. So it is a bit heartbreaking to think about it, really, because it is something that used to be about community and about towns and about villages, right, coming together to play sport for each other, and now it's something.
Well, it's a
Not
family
that.
thing, right? It's a family thing. Like, I'm a Spurs fan because my mum's a Spurs fan. And my mum's a Spurs fan because her family comes from Ponders End. So even though I'm from Harlow's a Spurs town. Like, but my family is Spurs. Like, I share this with my family. If I go to see Spurs, I go with my mum. So, like, the idea, it's about going to the game. That's the most important thing to me. Yes, it's nice to walk into, to work on a Monday morning or a Tuesday morning and say, oh, yeah, my team's better than yours, ha, ha, ha. But actually, it's about going with your friends and family.
Yeah.
And that
100%.
that is becoming almost impossible now.
Well, there's too many people bothered about winning everything all the time. I mean, look, I want Spurs to win a trophy as much as anything, but is it life or death?
No.
The best days I have out are probably the ones that Shannon had in Middlesbrough prior to the game, where you go, you're with your mates, you have a few beers, you have some shit food, really enjoy company, enjoy that social aspect of it, and then your team plays and probably depresses you.
That one of the best Spurs days I've had ever.
Yeah.
We wish we stayed at the pub and didn't actually go to the game, though. That's the only thing I'll say. But yeah, no, that's exactly what it's about, and that's why the supporters groups are so important as well. Obviously, I play a big role in East Midlands Spurs, being where I'm from, and it does help. You build a community. You have that travel to games together. You're happy together on the way. You're sad together on the way back. It is a big part of football, but ultimately, if you take the winning and the losing out of football, you just take everything away, and that's what the Super League does, in my opinion. You need to be able to win and win big, or to lose and go down. It's such a big part of the game.
Yeah.
I've watched Spurs play in a Champions League final. I've watched Spurs beat Ajax. I've watched other games in the Champions League where we played well. I remember a few years ago we beat Dortmund in the groups, and still the best game I have watched is Spurs Morecambe, because it was on my birthday and I got to have drinks and meet some lovely people like you with my dad. So, to me, the best experience was being around people and having a few drinks at a football game. The fact that we were shit for the first half didn't really matter, I mean, it was annoying, but
I mean, look, everyone ultimately, sport is about winning. Everyone wants to win, don't they?
Yeah, of course.
And no one would be happier than me if we won the Premier League. No one.
I'd love it. But
be like the crowning pinnacle of my life, really. But
not your children.
No. They just keep you up all night. But but my sporting life, it would be. But ultimately, it doesn't happen for 19 teams in the Premier League every year, does it? So it's very difficult to do so. The most important thing about football is having a good time. And that's the most important thing about life, really. Otherwise, your life is going to be spent very bitter and miserable if that's all you ever think about. We could go in for 2 hours, though, guys. So I think we're going to have to wind it up. Go on, James.
Did anyone get who I served a coffee to?
No, that's a good point. Yeah, who did you serve a coffee to? Tell us.
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet. I did see someone got that in the chat. But
I didn't know who she was, so
that's the best thing. Like,
you didn't know who Kate Winslet was?
No.
You've not seen Titanic?
Well, I already know how the film ends, don't I? The boat crashes.
Yeah, but like the Titanic was made in 1997, I think, Caller. Right, like you think about when you talked about Kate Winslet, I was like, okay, well, I want to see when all these. She hasn't been nominated for an Oscar for like 10 years. No. And James is only 18 as
in fairness, 19. Also, 19, in fairness, sorry. My favourite film, which is on a poster on the wall, was released in 1994.
What is it?
Pulp Fiction.
Okay, I can't see the picture.
It's a great film.
Yeah, great film.
Absolutely great film.
So,
there you go, James. You're right. Community across the agrees. And you see that with supporters clubs worldwide as well. So
yeah, I mean it's what's bringing us together right now. So
yeah, absolutely. It's literally why everyone's watching this podcast.
Yeah.
Why over 1,000, 2,000 people will listen to it. Over 10,000 people a week listen or watch the Cheese Room because they care about football and they care about their club and it brings people together. Adrian wants to know, really important question before we go. What coffee did she have?
I did say, but it was a soy Americano. So, yeah, I share that sentiment. I think Americanos are crap anyway. So,
yeah, she's definitely a bit, what's the word?
Incorrect.
Well, no, just a bit, why do we have to have soy? Just have some milk, Kate. Christ's sake. Right, anyway, maybe she's intolerant. Who knows?
Yeah.
Imagine that. I'd rather not imagine that, actually. That'd be a mess. Right. HG, thanks for joining us again this evening.
No problem. Thanks for keeping me up past midnight on a school night.
It is always good to share time with you after a win.
That's true.
That's what I'm saying.
Do it again Monday night.
James, you're a student, so this is early doors for you. You're not an old man like HG.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to the pub later.
You're probably off to play Call of Duty or something, right?
Yeah, basically.
Good stuff. And Shan, sort your room out, will you?
It's not going to get sorted out until we move.
Okay. Well,
where else am I meant to put all of these things?
The garage.
Which has all of our other things from our old house in it. It's full.
Hold it high, like a Rubik's Cube. Anyway, thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it. And I think I speak on behalf of everyone at the Cheese Room and the wider Spurs community when we say thanks for staying away and giving us those 3 points. And until next time. I'm
still going to say it. I've seen us win more than I've seen us lose. And that is it.
Don't ruin my narrative. Until next time, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Spurs.